Mark Sidious. The hood is up.
The hood is up. I'm ready to go today, man.
Yeah, you're coming in hot. It's
but
Rule of
we
Two.
got no news today. It's just like
there's lots of rumors. There's lots of speculation, and
yeah. Sometimes you feel like slaying younglings, right? And that's the mood I'm in right now.
Yeah. So you feel like slaying younglings. I feel like looking at a dual sun in the distance and planning an adventure.
Yeah, but like not literally slaying younglings, like the sort of metaphorical slaying younglings, which means like let's talk Star Wars, teach people a lesson, and just keep it moving. Like
I freaking like that.
Just for the record, I do not condone the slaying of younglings. Okay, that is off
off the table
off
here.
the table. The metaphorical slaying of younglings, right? Using it in a kind of like, hey, to slay a youngling equates to teach a young person or to impart knowledge to a young person.
I was going to say
that's. I'm more into that.
We're taking you to school, is what you're saying.
Yes, taking you to school is the slaying of younglings.
Yes, class is in session. It's Rule of Two. Yeah. And there's a lot of chatter out there. Are we going to? I started it. I shouldn't have done this, but I was in a mood. But the Avengers Endgame trailer dropped, and I know that how many people wanted.
Great trailer, by the way.
Great trailer, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wanted that, and people were yelling and screaming online. They're like, "I want it! I want it! I want it!" And when they moved it. But they kept moving it, right? We were supposed to get it on like a Wednesday. It didn't happen. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know about all
There was
that.
like reports that it was going to come on this day, and then it didn't happen. And
Gotcha.
this day it didn't happen. And then where was it? People were angrily yelling into the void. So then when the actual Avengers trailer dropped, I didn't even respond to the trailer. I said, yeah, so when are we getting Episode 9 trailer? And people were like, whoa. And a lot of people got my joke.
I saw that joke.
Yeah.
And I responded with a joke of my own.
Right, tune into Rule of Two to find out.
And look, and
here we are.
Ironically enough, we actually have real info on it. That's all, again, unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated stuff we're hearing. There'll be some caveats in here, but go ahead.
Yeah,
because when are we going to get this effing trailer?
I actually personally believe that we're not getting a trailer this year.
This year, okay.
That's what my gut says.
Okay.
Because let's just be clear about one thing. I love Star Wars trailers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and like I made a
unites
vow.
the fandom.
I made a vow
for a second.
to Riley before we got on the air today.
I'm going to hold you to this.
Okay, that this is going to be my episode 8 hate-free podcast.
Oh, I like this.
So I will only talk about positive things that I saw in episode 8 in the Disney sequels. I will only speak in positive terms today.
I like it. So we're doing a deep dive on The Last Jedi, all in.
Right.
I'm going to be telling... no.
Here's one thing that I absolutely love about Star Wars, and it's, the prequels, the original trilogy, and the sequels always knock out of the park.
The trailers?
The trailers.
Yeah.
I mean, that first trailer for The Force Awakens, I consider that a standalone work of art.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the very first one.
The first one where it reintroduced the audience again that we are getting another Star Wars.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yes,
with
I agree.
with Snoke's VO, these beautiful shots. The introduction of Kylo Ren that you only see from the back.
They introduced the new characters all in succession.
A scene that's not actually in the movie, by the way.
Right. We never saw that, him pulling the lightsaber out in the snow.
Yeah,
but we got it was great. It was art because we get the light side and the dark. And we're just like, who's that in double edge?
Yeah, it was incredible. That Force Awakens trailer was absolutely incredible.
I loved it.
Okay?
I watched that thing over and over again. And it introduced the main characters. We got Rey, we got Finn, we got Poe, and we got Kylo Ren.
And
all
look,
the new blood.
And I thought, and this is a positive thing, but like for me, that trailer, above all else, gave me Finn. And it gave me my kind of fandom around Finn. Because, I still am. Oh, God, I'm like about, like, the dark side is calling me. Okay. Anyway,
you can't.
So fast
the
forward.
light
You know what?
isn't tempting you
You know
whatsoever.
what? You know what? I am going to turn away from the dark and into the light. And fast forward to we were, I believe, I don't know if you were with us. Actually, I think you stayed back to man the ship. But we were at Star Wars Celebration 2 years ago.
Yeah, was it episode 8?
Episode 8.
Yeah.
So
I was here.
The episode 8 trailer, another masterful trailer. And for me, my favorite thing about the episode trailer was the music.
Oh yeah,
The music was just incredible.
it was.
Incredible. And then that weird trailer that we got in the middle of the World Series. Remember that?
Yep.
You know, just like randomly dropped in the World Series. We got this big trailer. So the trailers for the sequels, and you know what? Another trailer that I loved, the Solo trailer.
Yeah, the Solo trailer was great.
With the rock and roll. You know, it was absolutely friggin'
I'm going to share some love. I know everybody talks about the Phantom Menace first trailer. Everybody loves that.
I love that one.
I'll tell you, I was sitting in getting ready to watch Monsters, Inc., and they dropped the first trailer for episode 2. And it was the Darth Vader breathing, and there was silence. There was no sound effects. It was just Darth Vader's breathing.
Bomb.
And there was, and it was Slave One.
Bomb.
Flying, like that scene that we love with the sonic depth charges. And it was like, coming in. Like,
and that was, they were using the music from the Scarlet Pit in that, in that trailer.
Bomb. One of my favorite pieces of John Williams music. Oh my God.
Guys. So look,
Here we go. So
one thing that I think we can all agree on.
the trailers.
Star Wars trailers kick some effing ass.
They do. And they also, what I love about the trailers is for a hot second or weeks on end, I would say. It's not a hot second. But everybody's like kind of on the same page.
Great point.
Right? Everybody gets excited and they go, oh my God. And there's so much possibility because this is where everybody they don't know the whole story.
Right.
So they can all agree on one thing. The trailer was rad. We saw this, we saw this, we saw this. And then they start going off in these conversations. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Right.
And so I'm excited for this. Now, going back to the original point.
Yeah. So anyway, we got lost in there because we love these Star Wars trailers.
We just started geeking out. And I love this. We're off to a great start.
Yeah. Dude, look, and I turned away from the dark and went to the light. Okay?
I'm proud of you.
So this weekend, we were supposed to get a Spider-Man trailer.
Correct.
A Spider-Man Far
From Home,
Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. For whatever reason, Sony refused to put the trailer online.
Right.
This was a last-minute decision. Okay?
Yeah,
we have very good sources on this.
They premiered it at Brazilian Comic-Con.
Yeah,
and
CCXP,
said, I
think it's called.
It was going to be out soon after.
Yeah, but they didn't release it then. We all thought they were going to release it then.
Right.
Now, without tying too many knots together, or I'm sorry, too many strings together, there is on good authority that as part of their marketing strategy and to be consistent with the marketing strategies of the past for the Saga films, that it is a very, very high likelihood that there will be a trailer dropping before the end of the before the end of the year for Star Wars Episode 9.
That's the going rumor right now.
You know, and whatever it's called, right? Because we don't even know what it's called. You know, typically they usually announce the name of the movie
before. Yeah.
In that first trailer of Force Awakens, was Force Awakens already announced as a name? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, typically they'll announce the name. Now, this is why I don't think it's going to happen. Like, we're already, December 9th, December 10th? I mean, I don't even know what day
December
it is.
December 11th.
11th?
Yeah, we're close.
D11, huh?
Yeah.
So we're already in D11, and we don't know. It's close, you know?
It's close. I can feel it. I'm wondering, you're right, though, all this. They could be planning something. We have colleagues that have heard that maybe they're going to do it. Maybe we're going to see it. We look at the marketing. We've seen it happen before. Force Awakens, a perfect reference. Coming up on 2019, the last of the Skywalker saga. They want to get the hype going.
Yeah.
But I could also see them waiting until Celebration.
Yeah.
I really do. That could be the
Let's
first.
start the show because there's something I want to talk about already.
Yeah, so we don't know. But guess what, everybody? It's Rule of 2, Episode 18.
Rise.
That's right. It's episode 18 of Rule of 2, the official spin-off, I'm going to say, of the Jedi Council on our podcast.
The official, you know what? You know, the official shadow.
The official shadow. We cast a large shadow.
The official shadow of,
Yeah, we are learning that we thank you, everybody that is tuning in here on the Podcast One feed. Wherever you get a podcast, you can see us here or find us here. We are also on the YouTube channel, Collider Podcast. You can see us on video. And we are doing this, and we want to appreciate everybody that's tuning in because we're doing pretty good.
I'm about to drop a bomb on here.
Oh, shit. Okay. I just cursed.
And this is going to be a bomb for our listeners, our
like it.
watchers, our supporters.
Well, we're 18 episodes in now.
It's crazy.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
So
drop
look,
that bomb.
I might be moving the Rule of Two podcasts onto a different channel.
Really?
When it comes to video. When it comes to video.
Okay.
You know, the Collider podcast video channel is kind of a proving ground for content here at Collider. So we have a lot of great shows on there. The Witching Hour with Perry and Haley.
Yep.
The Meaning of with RB3.
Yeah, and Ace.
And Ace.
Yeah.
The Action Guys.
Action
with
Guys.
Ben
Riley
Bateman
Roundtable.
and Guy.
We're on there.
Riley Roundtable, which
Yeah.
I actually want to be back on. I have an idea for an episode.
I need you back on. That was one of my favorite. We got into film. And
Yeah.
I love that we kept spilling over into Star Wars just by accident.
You know what I
but-
was thinking about doing was looking at it's actually Star Wars related in a funny way, but looking at the AFI's official top 10 science fiction movies
Let's do that.
and just go through it and like critique their list.
Absolutely. I'm going to get you before you leave for the holidays because I want to drop a Riley Roundtable before we get out of here.
That could be a fun one, right?
That's a great one. I'm booking you. Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
So, God, I forgot. Oh, anyway, so it's a proving ground.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like the minor leagues. If Ellis was sitting here, he would liken this to like, you know, the farm system.
Yeah.
Right?
But look, now on a channel where typically videos don't get a ton of views because it is a podcast channel. It's a smaller channel. It's more niche.
Correct.
Rule of Two is averaging around 20,000 views an episode on video, about 500 comments an episode. So there's a good community, good dialogue. People are coming out and supporting the show. More importantly, supporting what you and I always call the loyal opposition, right?
Yeah.
That you might be on different sides of the table, but we all want the same things. We all want great Star Wars content, right?
Right. And we love talking Star Wars. We celebrate it. I mean, this is a celebration of the Star Wars universe here, even though sometimes we will not like certain elements, even me.
Yeah.
But I get that. And I love that.
So next year there might be some changes coming about where it's going to be and maybe open it up to a slightly bigger audience.
I like that.
And the only reason that that's possible is because since you and I started with our first episode, which I even forget what we were talking about, but I know we had a blast.
Yeah.
And then we did the golden lightsabers, and then we did the video game thing, and we started really finding our groove. The listeners have been there with us, and I recognize a lot of the same names commenting.
Yep, I do
recognize
too.
a lot of adversarial comments, same persons coming in hot, whether it's against you or against me.
Happens.
But even those comments are not like pure evil. You know what I mean? They're antagonizing. But ultimately, I can still detect the loyal opposition even in those comments, you know? So
Yeah. I always said, I mean, the very first Riley Roundtable I did when we dropped it on Collider was called Confessions of a Disney Shill. And I said, you know, listen, I know some of you think I can be a shill. And I went into my love of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I went into my love of Marvel. It doesn't matter. And I said, you know what? Fine. If you want to call me a shill, I don't care. I like what I like. I like my DC too. I love Man of Steel. So whatever. But when I was going into why somebody would call me a shill, I'm like, well, they have something to say. Now, it comes off as harsh sometimes. And sometimes there's idiots that I don't even listen to you because we talk about that conversation. It's like when you start with a put down and you say like, F you, you suck.
Conversation's over.
But if they come in hot, to use your term, or the term I like to use too.
To use your term.
Back to the Future screen. No. The Jurassic Park screen.
Yeah. So finish your point because I want to tell that little story really quick.
Okay,
It's one of my favorite Riley stories.
I basically just say that you have something to say. I'm trying to figure it out. So I want to acknowledge your point.
Yeah.
But I want to try to do it in a way that doesn't advance the toxicity. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So if you come in hot, that's fine. Just be aware that words matter.
Yeah.
That's all. Okay.
So
tell your story.
Really quick. So at Collider we have a lot of fun sometimes, and we do these screening series of movies that we personally love, right? And last year, one of my favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park.
Mine too. Yeah.
And so we did a screening of a really beautiful print of Jurassic Park. We invited the fans. It was a free showing. Filled the theater.
Yep.
And then we had a Q&A afterwards with Perry Nemiroff and Mark Ellis, and I believe
Myself,
you were in it as well.
Yeah, and Frosty too.
Frosty. And then we had a Q&A session. And then one of the questions that came in was a guy who was asked Riley, what do you think about Red Letter Media's breakdown of the prequels or some weird thing like that?
It was out of left field.
It was out of left field. And Riley, like, you know, I guess you had to be there type of thing. But the way Riley handled this heckler, essentially, was so beautiful that's when I looked at Riley and I said, that's the dude I want to do a podcast with. You know, it was absolutely great. And, you know, for the record, I want to say this because, again, this is only for our sort of niche audience. But, and I know that Red Letter Media takes the piss out of us, you know, quite often.
Yeah,
you know, and they do their what's it called, the Nerd Crew or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. I tend
for
to
the
not
record,
look.
for the record, I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay?
They're poking fun.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And I would love nothing more than to contact those guys and to try to do a show with them or to interview them or for them to interview us, because I think ultimately we all want the same thing, which is great content.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to admit, the Nerd Crew cracks me up. I know I'm kind of in the minority about that around here, but it's funny.
The very first time I heard about this, I finally went and watched, and I was laughing too. Sometimes though,
it's funny.
Sometimes though, I think they can go a little mean. I think they can go a little bully.
And mean, yeah, bully. Okay, that's a perfect, like,
You know,
that's the
where it's
sensitive
like,
area where it's like,
I get it. You know, you're towing a line.
yeah.
And I'm all for being, look, if you're going to make fun of me loving Star Wars and geeking out over a Star Wars trailer, I deserve it, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine. But when you get to the point where it's like basically I'm back in high school or back in middle school where you're like commenting on, you know, either looks or takes or opinions and it's in a mean
petty
way,
stuff.
petty stuff, where it's not like satirizing it or having
Right, the satire
fun.
I enjoyed. That's
The
a very good
satire I
way
enjoy.
to put it.
When you're laughing at us rather than with us, I have a problem with that.
Sure. Anyway, if anybody out there, you know, or if those guys are listening, which is highly doubtful, I think you guys are funny, and I would, you know,
They got something good.
there's not a
Listen,
lot of us out there, so maybe we should join forces.
when they started, and they did, and Red Letter Media, the head guy, did his breakdown of Phantom Menace. Did you watch that?
I haven't seen that one.
I'm telling you what, that's like stuff you teach in like screenwriting school, because even though I didn't agree with every point, and some of it would toe that line of being a little bit mean towards George Lucas and being a little bit petty, however, the mechanics were there. The analyzing of the screenplay, the story structure, some of the story points, I thought was right on. He was one of the most fascinating videos. Before I was in the space, I was watching this going, damn, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe didn't agree with all the points, but I thought the execution was brilliant. I thought his points were very valid. And aside from some of those comments that would go a little bit mean, I thought he was right on the money with some of it. But
Yeah,
that's
it's
just me.
fun. Like when they do, I think one of my favorite videos that they've ever done was probably the Han Solo trailer reaction.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good. So they did a Han Solo trailer reaction before the trailer had come out. And they just like, you know, they just did like, oh my God, the
Perfect.
Millennium Falcon. Oh my God, it's Chewbacca. Oh, it's
Perfect.
Chewbacca.
It's basically, yeah.
And-
It's what we do.
And after the trailer came out, it was hilarious because they actually superimposed the trailer with their fake trailer reaction, and it almost matched up one for one. So, anyway,
Of course.
bravo to those guys. And if you ever want to keep the dialogue going, or actually, you know, look, the greatest form of flattery is imitation. You know, there's no getting around that. So we know you guys are watching, and we'd love to have dialogue with you. So anyway.
There it is.
Yeah.
Extending the olive branch with a lightsaber hilt.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes.
I like it. Well, this is an interesting episode. We're coming in hot. We talked about the trailer, whether or not we're going to see it. You got our thoughts there. But
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to start this because the thing you mentioned about possibly moving it to another area because
Yeah.
of the growth of the
Yeah.
audience and the audience in general, there are amazing questions that keep coming. And so I grabbed some.
Okay,
I
cool.
have to
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
like these are too good.
Knock some of those out because
Yeah.
look, it's a slow news day. Not that this is a news show, but
No,
like
but these questions incite conversation.
Yeah.
Every single time. And this one really got me because I thought about it and I love it because it incorporates the entire saga. And this is what I like. It comes from Thomas Campbell. He's at That's a long one, Thomas Campbell. How am I going to say all this? Cam 715626447 Alex. Hey,
Nice.
That's a nice handle. All right. He hits us up and he says, so in every Saga film, a new force power has been introduced. What do you guys think will be possibly a new force power in the next movie, Episode 9?
Is that true that there's been a new force power in
I'm
every
going to bring
movie?
up the image, his notes. He sent me an image, and I'm pulling up the image right now.
I saw the tweet as well. I'm familiar with it. And he did have, I think his force power for Episode 3 was the one that I had the biggest question around. I believe that he said that it allows Anakin to see the future.
Yeah. So,
but even though Anakin had premonitions of the future for all, I believe in all 3 movies. I think Anakin.
Yeah, we weren't really. I don't remember seeing anything with Phantom Menace, and I think it's because of the design of the character, the introduction of Jake Lloyd being so young. We didn't have that.
Right.
But yes, to Attack of the Clones, he had a vision of his mother.
Right.
And knew something was going on
and that's
there.
why he went over there to kill like the sand people. And the children too.
Yeah. Chopping off some heads for those guys.
I actually really like that scene. Again, like I know I got a lot of critique for my respect of Attack of the Clones, but another really cool scene is the scene of Anakin on the speeder heading towards the village.
Duel of Fates plane.
Yeah, of the sand people. And
you know, I mean, again, there's Attack of the Clones is my least favorite. It's down at the bottom, but there's always good scenes in Star Wars.
Yeah. There's iconic moments that you can put that you can put on a poster and look at and say, okay, I know exactly where that's from. You know?
And in that particular scene, I remember being in the audience going, "Now we're talking. Yeah. Now we're talking. This is what I wanted."
It was a little bit of a tease. You're right. It was a little bit of a tease.
Because
that's
Anakin
the downside
went dark
of the scene.
side.
Yes,
but he went dark side, and
that was the first time.
Yeah, it was the first time where he gave into the dark side there, and that's kind of what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
I mean, you're telling me the story of Darth Vader, right? Or at least the fall of Anakin, the rise of Darth. I needed that, so I'm glad we got it.
And all we got was him turning on the lightsaber and opening up the one teepee or the one hut or whatever. Again, like. And this is my biggest critique of George Lucas in the originals, right? I promise not to be critical of the sequels, but I will be critical of the prequels here for a second. My biggest critique of George Lucas in the prequels is that he built up the character motivations, he built up the dark side, he built up the anger. Mm-hmm. You know, he let it rise from the depths of where the dark side comes from, wherever that may be. And then he gets you on the precipice of a scene that you think is the moment you've been waiting for your entire life, and then you don't get it. You know, I think that to me is always going to be my conflict with the prequels.
Yeah.
And it's a very good point. In that scene in Attack of the Clones, you almost get it.
I mean, I would say I got what I needed. You know why? Because he comes out of that hut and he goes, and just 2 of them dead.
Yeah.
Right? They
It's
were
a
like,
slaughter.
And then, you know, one of them runs up and you see him take the head off. You don't see the head leave the body.
Right.
But you see the lightsaber go, and then it cuts. And I was like,
What does it cut to? Little trivia. What does it cut to after that? I don't. It must be another story. It must cut back to Obi-Wan.
Cuts to Yoda.
Oh, it cuts to Yoda. And he feels it.
Feeling it.
He's feeling it.
He's like, you know, and then you hear
Yoda and Anakin were very connected.
Well, Yoda being so powerful, but then you know what I love about that scene as well. You hear Qui-Gon, Anakin, no, Anakin.
Oh, you hear that? Anakin, drop.
Yeah,
Anakin. Yeah.
And I think it was dialogue pulled from Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But it's the intention's there. Qui-Gon was communing from the other side, trying to stop Anakin from going to the dark side. Yeah.
Like, how can people hate that?
I love, again, there is so much. It's always the execution that always gets me because it leaves.
I almost got a little tear in my eye watching on video. Like that's a beautiful
story's
moment.
there. But when you tell me on paper, if you like, the prequels are announced, right? And then somebody gets a scoop and they go to me, I haven't seen the prequels, and they go, okay, here's the deal. Anakin Skywalker is going to walk the dark side, right? He's going to lose his mother. And he's going to go so full dark side. He's going to travel to the Sand People. Yeah. And he's going to kill them all, right? And then Yoda, we're going to flash to Yoda, and he's feeling it. He's
bring
feeling
his
it.
limp mother's body.
And leaving his, and bringing his limp mother's body. But when he's going full dark side, his Jedi master that was taken out by a Sith is trying to tell him to stop from the other side, which is going to be the seed that creates the Force Ghost.
Right.
You tell me that before I even see the movie,
What a
and I am
connection.
absolutely
So
in.
this is, and it's so funny because at the end of first of all, this is an insight that I haven't ever thought about. I'll be honest with you. I've never thought about this one.
Oh, good.
But at the end of Revenge of the Sith, when Yoda is, I still training for you, I still have, right?
Yeah, it tells Obi-Wan that.
Tells Obi-Wan, your master, Qui-Gon, whatever, right? Sets up basically a cliffhanger of sorts for the Obi-Wan character,
Right.
that there's still more for him to learn. You know?
Yeah, and then it pays off what we already know, that he's going to go to the other side.
But I never connected the fact that the true first Force Ghost, or we used to call it in Star Wars Galaxies, the blue glowy moment, right, is when Anakin is slaughtering the Sand People and Qui-Gon is communing with him. Because I took it up until this very moment. This is why I love the Rule of Two. I just took it as sound design. It's just a way to create a little sound design.
And maybe that was the intention.
No, but I think not. I think you're absolutely right. I think that it's not an accident that it's the guy who almost invented, talk about a new force power, right? Because this is the question that we've been talking about. Qui-Gon is the one who kind of was able to sort of pioneer that force power. And you get it in that moment in Attack of the Clones, and I had never thought about that until right now.
And I love it, and people would go into this and talk about it, but I think that is the seed for setting up the Force Ghost.
Yeah,
which is
that
something,
is definitely the seed. There's no doubt about it.
Which is something that has been introduced. So getting back to the question here, I love this question because in Episode 1, and I remember watching it, remember Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are there.
Force speed,
Force speed, they're off. Okay, in Episode 2, Force block. Yoda blocks
and
Dooku's
force
lightning.
Jumping and all these things were also
Force
introduced.
jumping,
So let's call it Force calisthenics, maybe?
Force calisthenics, Force PX90, whatever it might be called, that workout system.
Agility, Force agility.
Force agility.
Yeah. In video games, I do, not to interrupt you, but in video games, I do believe they call it Force speed.
Force speed? Okay. Love that. Episode 2, we saw, and we know this, Return of the Jedi introduced the Force lightning, right? That's the Emperor finally takes Luke out, and you're like, whoa, Sith Lords can do this? Okay. Well, then we see what happens when they do it to a trained Jedi. Dooku does the lightning to Yoda, and Yoda blocks it. Remember, he goes, and pulls it back. So that was introduced in Episode 2. We got to Episode 3, Force Vision. I would say that's kind of correct because we had the dreaming going on where he sees Padme, and then we kind of go this weird blurry tunnel.
Even though I do think in Attack of the Clones, Anakin does have a vision of his mother.
I think so too, and you can also look at Yoda. Going back to our point we made with Qui-Gon and Yoda hearing it, he's having that. He's premonitions.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of in line that we've already seen this. Luke on Dagobah, Han, Leia, and he falls, and he goes, they're in pain, and that's when Luke wants to go out and save them.
But it also begs the question: is there another force power introduced in Revenge of the Sith that we're not thinking about?
I'm going off of this great note here. I'm trying to think if we saw anything.
I'm trying to think. Force users.
It's hard to think about. I mean, Yoda was able to capture some of Sidious's lightning. Didn't he push it back? So that's a new one, but I don't know. You know what? Drop in your comments, guys.
Yeah. You know what else is
these.
maybe a little bit different in Revenge of the Sith that I hadn't seen before is when Anakin. It's a great scene. I love this scene, but it's when Anakin and Obi-Wan both do force push against each other at the same exact time,
and they're almost evenly matched.
Yeah, and it's almost evenly matched. That somehow the Force telekinetic power can be counteracted by an equal amount of Force telekinetic power.
I think that's a new one. Yeah, we can say that.
I probably hadn't seen that before. But anyway, so then New Hope.
New Hope, we got the Jedi mind trick. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's a new one, yeah. I mean, and really, I'm trying to think of A New Hope in general because...
That's the only one.
That really is the only one. We never see...
There's no telekinesis.
Episode 5, he lists here Force choke. Vader choking Admiral Ozzel.
No,
Vader didn't Force choke anyone in A New Hope. Nope, he did.
He did.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
In Empire Strikes Back, the Force power is telekinesis. Is when it's one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, if not the single most iconic scene in Star Wars, in my opinion, is when Luke is hanging.
It's mine too.
In the,
hands down
in the cave of the Wampa.
Yeah.
And he's reaching for that saber, and the saber starts moving.
Yep.
That is the first time that you see the telekinesis.
Yep.
And that to me might be the single most iconic scene in all of Star Wars.
I'm with you on that. It's my favorite. It's Jeremy John's favorite too, because every time I see Jeremy, we do the because when he goes, because he's reaching and then he goes, oh yeah. He centers himself.
Yeah.
Literally hanging upside down. Luke goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then he reaches out and the Force music plays and the Wampa's coming at the same time.
Yeah.
And gets up and cuts that arm off.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. So
how many times have you tried to do that?
I would say going on 500 times.
Easy.
I've done that. I mean,
Easy.
I've done that. I still do this to this day. My fiance the other day went, "What are you doing?" We're late.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to a screening, and we're at a red light, and I start going, and I did this, and she looked over and she went, "What are you doing?" And I go,
"You're a man in your 40s.
I'm a man in my 40s, and I'm using the Force to turn the light, and the light turned green, and I looked at her and I go, "See, it worked."
Right,
and she went, "Shut up."
Yeah. I've done it too, man. I look at an object, try to bring it over. It's never worked for me.
It's like sooner or later we have blood coming out of our nose. We're just straining so much.
Yeah.
So that's episode 4. Episode 5, Force choke. Yeah, we saw that. We saw it in episode 4.
But telekinesis is episode 5.
is really, I'm with you. Episode 6, right on. Force lightning from Palpatine. That was new. That was our first time.
Yeah.
Episode 7. Force Awaken, Force Freeze, Kylo Ren freezing the blaster bolt.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
that's a great one. Yeah, that was a new one. And I'm trying to think if there was more. She used Jedi mind trick on Daniel Craig's stormtrooper character.
No, the freezing I think is the only new thing we saw.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if that was it. Yeah,
which is a great one. Like the freezing in midair was great.
Yep. And then episode 8, Force projection from Luke. I would say that you missed one, and that's the Force Skype call.
It's basically the same power, though, isn't it?
It's kind of. Yeah, I mean, I think I look at the idea that, let's say, go back to episode 3, and he lists the Anakin's visions of the future, and he sees what's happening. But I would also look at episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, where Luke is able to feel Han and Leia's pain.
And Leia's able to,
And Leia's able to hear Luke when he's hanging upside down. I feel like the next step is that they're able to see each other, which I feel the Force Skype call is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
that all makes sense.
So, with that being said, could we come up with our own? What do we think new Force power will be in Episode 9? And that's a great one. I don't know what the answer is until I see it.
First of all, because I'm such a weird Star Wars freak, and a lot of my Star Wars experiential memories are from video games.
Yeah.
You know, there's actually quite a bit of Force powers that are used in games that have never made, like the film. I think for me, there's a few. And actually, I think we did see this one, but one Force power that I've always loved in video games is called Force Meditate.
Force Meditate, okay.
And basically what Force Meditate is that it's a way to heal yourself, right? To center yourself. So we do get that beautiful scene in Phantom Menace of Qui-Gon meditating.
That's one of my favorite moments in Phantom Menace because it just shows the absolute stark difference between a Sith and a Jedi.
Right. Where you get
he goes meditating, and there's a caged animal behind him, just freaking waiting. Darth Maul,
and Obi-Wan, who's still a Padawan, who's not yet a master, who's still like driven by his gut and his emotions.
Shows the difference. He's just jumping around.
He's jumpy. He's ready.
He's literally doing calisthenics, waiting to take
He's
on
stretching
Maul.
out. Yeah, where Qui-Gon is doing his Force meditation.
Yeah.
And Force meditation is supposed to center yourself and effectively acts like a heal. So that's one thing that I've seen in Star Wars lore that I think is really interesting. Mm-hmm. Another one that I've seen in Star Wars lore is invisibility.
Yeah.
You know, like a full Jedi cloak.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they'll go that extreme in the movies ever.
Yeah.
But in games, I have seen that.
I like that.
I
can also.
You know what? Here's another one that we got that he didn't mention. Also, a new force power, because I have seen this one in games. Is Darth Vader's ability to block laser shots with his hands.
Yeah. You know what? I guess that's an extension of what Kylo Ren did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like
If
a
you think
precursor
about it,
to it.
it's kind of the precursor. Yeah, because you're talking about Han Solo unloading on him and Bespin. And he
Right.
just goes boom, 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 whatever.
Yeah, they
Give
kind
me
of
that.
bounce off his hands.
They bounced off his hand, and then he get the gun.
Yeah, which is kind of maybe a force shield, you know, like
Force shield, yeah.
you know, which is something that that's why I also think to give you know, The Last Jedi credit when you still, even though I personally knew there was something wrong the second I watched the movie, because I'm a hilt fanatic, and he was wearing his hilt, so I knew something was off the second he shows up on screen, because his hair color is different, even though that wasn't the telltale sign for me.
Sure.
For me, was when you saw his hilt in full shot, you're like, okay, something's wrong. He's got the hilt.
Yeah, it was so well done in my opinion, because it registered on me, but I was just so like, what's going on? It kind of just whoosh,
Yeah.
left, and I
But
was in the moment.
I did think that there was precedence for all of the things shooting at him, and him, you know, doing the old rub of the shoulder, because Force Shield had been established. You know,
That's where I thought they were going with it too, and then for
Anyway,
people
whatever.
different, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
It upset some, but that's fine.
another Force power.
I'm thinking while you're thinking that, I think there's also the addition to finally realizing when you are on the other side, one with the Force, and you're on the other side, and it's Force Ghost. Yoda being able to go whoosh, and the lightning coming down
As a ghost.
that for me
That's
was
new.
pretty new and pretty awesome in my opinion, because that was set up in A New Hope. I would become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Now, you could say, yeah, you're powerful. You're able to sit here and have a conversation with me and tell me that my sister is actually Leia.
Right.
And I'm talking about Obi-Wan sitting with Luke during Return of the Jedi.
The log.
The sitting down on the log. This old tired ghost needs to sit.
Yeah.
But that, to me, that's power. But I was thinking more, and with Yoda being able to actually manipulate the physical environment from the other side, getting some lightning out from the sky and killing the Jedi tree, that's pretty damn powerful.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
What do you think could be a new power? I'm gonna go with if they introduce a new power. Oh, here's another really amazing power. Probably one of my favorite Jedi powers, and it's the premise of the entire Thrawn trilogy, almost, which is what they call. God, I forget the exact name for it. There is a name for it, but it's what they bring on Master Sabaoth. The reason Thrawn recruits Grand Master Sabaoth, spoiler warnings, is that Master Sabaoth has an ability that the Emperor also had, which is the ability to bring focus to the warfield. I think it's called Jedi focus or war focus, but Timothy Zahn kind of retconned this, I think, a little bit. But we often, in the original trilogy, we often saw the Emperor sitting on his throne looking at the battle. Right. And then he turns around and looks and talks to you.
Welcome, young Skywalker.
But what he's doing before we get there is he's just looking at the battle.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we all thought that was fairly arbitrary. It's just a nice way to intro somebody.
Sure.
When we saw the original trilogies, when you started reading Heir to the Empire specifically, you realize that the Emperor was actually doing something, which was bringing focus to the war and to all of the people fighting the war. It's called Jedi. There's a name for it. You know, somebody will comment on it. You know, like
let
a
us
gotcha
know.
moment.
Yeah.
But Master Sabaoth could also perform this. So Master or Grand Admiral Thrawn brings Sabaoth aboard his ship so that he can look on the battlefield and bring focus to the warriors that are fighting it.
I like that.
So
that's
like
a cool power.
Yeah, that's a big Jedi.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah,
I read those books, so I probably it's been a long time.
It's a big part of what Saboth is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I'll touch on some of the non-canon books now, but the Dark Empire, I've always wondered this. I don't think they're going to do it, but and I don't know what you would call it, but it's essentially the body dies. The spirit can jump into another body. In this case, a clone. Emperor Palpatine clones himself.
Yeah.
The bodies are in limbo, and when he died at the end of Return of the Jedi, he jumped into one of those bodies. But because in the comic book, it's called Dark Empire, one of my favorites, the body can't sustain it because it's not his original body, so it starts to wilt and die a lot faster. So that's why he needs multiple clones.
Yeah, in the prequels, there's a line somewhere in there that says, like, I actually believe it's another one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, which is the opera scene.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a good one.
And where Palpatine tells Anakin
the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah, and he tells him about Plagueis' relationship with the midichlorians.
Right. He can manipulate him for life.
Right. Oh, there we go. That's
yeah. Once you said that, the opera scene, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. See, like now we've come to the end. Now we've come to the end game. Talk about Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
That's the end game. That's the end game.
Here's what I'm wondering. This is what you do for us guys when you send us questions like this.
Yeah,
it inspires an entire episode.
Yeah.
What is the idea of, okay, bear with me here. I know we're going to get geeky, but the idea of Rey being connected somehow to Palpatine. Now, that has been one of the things we've heard. Could it be him manipulating the midichlorians to create Rey? Is that
we just uncovered through this dialogue, through this discussion, we just uncovered what George Lucas's Endgame was with the sequels.
That's gotta be it, right?
It's Rey or Kylo or whoever needs to be able to fulfill Anakin's unfulfilled desires.
I love that, and that's where I wondered
which
they
is
could
to bring life.
Yeah,
he can manipulate life.
He can manipulate life. So
that's the ultimate power of the Jedi.
This is why I'm bringing it up because. We've had the rumors of Palpatine showing up in one way or another in the whole saga now because, I remember seeing a scoop come out that Palpatine was going to be in Force Awakens. Yeah. Then it kind of went quiet for a while. Episode 8 happened, so no rumors about that, but here we are back again. Now, whether it's a hologram of the Emperor saying something, but I've always loved the idea of it being tied to Rey somehow. Yeah. And I know we've heard, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Some people have given me some hope with this because I know in the Aftermath books there was some things that the Emperor put out there.
What's the Aftermath book? What is that one?
Chuck Wendig.
What is it about?
It's like what happens immediately after Return of the Jedi.
But it was one of the Disney books, right?
Yeah, the newest ones. It's canon now.
Okay.
So
and Kylo's in it somehow.
Kylo's not in it, but it's basically our heroes and what happens
to the galaxy. But it's like
the
first Disney book that came out or something, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Or was that Bloodline was the first one?
No. Bloodlines came later. And again,
right. This is where we need Harloff and Ken.
Harloff and Ken, that's what Jedi Council is there for. Yeah. What's the deal with canon? They break down some of these things. You can go to old episodes. But I do know this. I don't know when it came out. It did come out as one of the very first. I read parts of it. I was having trouble with it. It's just for whatever reason. It's mostly work stuff that I can't read these books anymore.
Yeah, reading just makes me sleepy a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, it depends
in my
on
older
the book.
age.
I love the audiobooks, especially for Star Wars, because I would listen to them on my drives. I did that for Lost Stars, one of my faves. But Aftermath, I remember something about there was like a mission. He had buried something in the Jakku desert. The Emperor did. And everybody immediately goes, Jakku? Well, that's Rey. And that's where I'm still going with it. I mean, could they have that plan? Is it the Emperor? Was he able to get the power that he learned from his master, Darth Plagueis, manipulate the midichlorians, create life? Is that Rey? Could Rey be related to Palpatine in that way? Not by blood or parentage, but he created it. Now, here, let's go deeper. Did he create that life? And then he was able to, and this is tied to the Aftermath books, he handed Rey off to some parents. that ended up being what Kylo Ren said, which is they were filthy junk traders. They sold you for drinking money. That still tracks for me. That could still work.
But you're saying Palpatine is somehow involved before that.
Palpatine created the midichlorians, somehow created life, but he would need a vessel, right? Wouldn't he need a vessel? Isn't that what he was alluding to with Anakin, that Plagueis created Anakin in the vessel of Shmi Skywalker?
Yeah, but I think, first of all, that's interesting. But what I'm thinking about now is that George Lucas, we've talked about what would the George Lucas trilogy look like. That's what we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
And now I know. Now I know for a fact what it was, which was the reason why there's this allusion to the midichlorians and the wills and all of this stuff is that, oh my God, I can't believe this kid, whoever gave us this question, like made me see the light. But
I love this.
When Darth Vader
Thomas
says
Campbell.
Joseph Campbell. Maybe it's Joseph Campbell's kid.
Yeah, it's Joseph Campbell's. Thomas? If your father is Joseph Campbell, I want to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah, or maybe your great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather.
But anyway, when Kylo Ren says, I want to finish what you started, it's probably a line from the Michael Arndt script, now that I'm thinking about it, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to finish what you started, because you got to remember, there is rumors that a big part of Kylo Ren thing was that he was he had Jedi powers, or he had Force powers. Yeah. And that he was ultimately searching the galaxy for artifacts from the Sith, from the Jedi, whatever. He was looking around for artifacts, right? I forget all the details, but I have heard this on multiple accounts, that Kylo Ren's primary thing in the original George Lucas version of the story, whatever he was called, maybe he was called something else, was that there was a character who had Force powers, who was associated with the Skywalkers, who was out collecting artifacts.
Yeah, okay? I remember that too. Yep.
And I'm going to finish what you started really comes down to what's Anakin's number one goal, the reason he turns to the dark side, the reason that he tells Mace Windu, I know who the secret dark Sith is. It's the Emperor.
Yeah.
And let's go get him. And he's like, but I got to come with you. And when Mace Windu tells Anakin he's too dangerous to be kept alive, Anakin is like, no, dude, you got to keep him alive, because he's convinced me that he understands the greatest power in the galaxy, which is to manipulate the midichlorians to bring life.
Or save it.
To control life.
To control life. It's all encompassing.
Right. Yeah. That was Anakin Skywalker's number one mission.
I love this. Wouldn't it be apropos to finish that out in the last movie, in the whole saga?
Right. So I'm convinced now that this is what George Lucas was setting out to do in his sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Was to create a trilogy where that goal is actually achieved at the end by manipulation of the midichlorians or the wills, or however the hell he was going to introduce that. Okay? Yeah. So what I'm hopeful of, because there's only a few people on this planet that have actually read Lucas's story.
Right.
And I believe one of them is J.J. Abrams.
I was just going to say.
Right?
Absolutely.
That the Endgame...
Because George Lucas was recruiting J.J. for that script.
Absolutely. He had him pegged from the beginning.
We are just solving crimes here.
Yeah, pegged from the beginning. That the end of the thing, back to this guy's question, Joseph Campbell's kid, Thomas Campbell, is that it's all about finding or finally having a Jedi or a Force user being able to manipulate the midichlorians, or whatever the Force is now called in the new sequels, to control life.
That makes so much sense for me, at least, because when you break it down, you go deep. We brought up all the Force powers that created the conversation. Then is it Rey? Is it Rey that's going to have that power? Or is Kylo Ren perhaps? I want to throw Kylo into this because he wants to finish what his grandfather started.
Yeah.
He says that to the thing. What does that mean? What is it? I love the canon material. I did read the Force Awakens novelization. You do get a few thoughts of Kylo Ren, because one of the questions was, well, does he know that that Anakin came back and saved his son from the Emperor by coming back to the light.
I think he does.
Well, he does. And
because,
Kylo
like,
said, "No, that was a."
If he lived with Han and he lived with Leia and he was taught by Luke, of course he has heard the tale of the redemption of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, and I believe he said that. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of that was a weak moment for him. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. No, he was. He's basically. It's like Monday morning quarterbacking it. It's like we're not talking about that.
I think, in my opinion. And you know how I feel about this. Kylo Ren is my favorite character in the Disney Star Wars. Okay,
he might be mine. He's up there.
Finn, I thought was going to be my favorite character, and then things happened, and it turned out that he wasn't the guy that I thought he was going to be. Okay.
I hope he gets a good one too, because he was he was one of my favorites in Force Awakens. But then,
I mean, I thought he gave a great acting performance, and John Boyega.
He's always good.
He's a huge fan. Actually, I heard that John Boyega is a fan of Jedi Council.
He is. Yeah, we've been trying to get him on.
I wonder if he's ever listened to Rule of Two. If you have, we love you, and we want to see more of you, and we'd love to sit down and chat with you. But
I would love. Oh my God, that'd be great.
Yeah. So fast forward. My thoughts, right? Like you asked me before the show started, and we were like, typically, just to give you a little sneak peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when we sit down here and do Rule of Two, we have no idea what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I wanted to say, because I think it's there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah.
I would say in Jedi Council, the way that the show is.
Yeah, it's like a real show. Jedi Council is a real show
But you have to prep. You have to come up with notes.
Yeah.
We have producers. This, by design, being called a spin-off, being called a celebration of the Star Wars galaxy or the universe, we just like to go in and do this, which is talk
Star Wars.
It's just Star Wars, and you never know what's going to come up. So what you're hearing right now, this is one of my favorite conversations.
Right.
Absolutely. And we stumbled on it. And that's the whole point, because I think why people might tune into us and like what we're doing is because they just had the same thing happen. Granted, there wasn't a microphone pointed at your face.
Sure.
This might have happened with your buddy as you're sitting around eating pizza.
At least we can memorialize the thought, right?
We can memorialize the thought, but everybody out there listening right now, I bet you've had these conversations with your Star Wars sweaties.
Absolutely.
You've been eating some pizza, playing some video games. And you know what would be great? You just came out of seeing Avengers maybe, and you saw the trailer. You know what would be great? You're driving around maybe with your fiance as you're trying to force change the light.
Yeah.
And she goes, "What are you doing?" And then you get into a Star Wars conversation where she goes, this is a true story, by the way, not that one, but you say a few things about Star Wars. She goes, "Where did that happen?" I go, "That was in Empire Strikes Back." She goes, "I haven't seen that in a while. Let's watch it."
Right.
So these conversations happen among the fans everywhere because you love your Star Wars.
Yeah. So to put a bow on it, Kylo Ren's my favorite character, all in all, in the new Disney Star Wars. He's an incredibly complex character with an incredible performance given by the great Adam Driver, who we've been lucky enough to have in the office, and all these great things. I think that there will be a redemption of Kylo Ren.
I was going to this was my next question.
I think that there is, speaking, you always like to talk about the echoes of Star Wars and the rhyme and the meter. I think that this is the most important one. I actually think, and I know that I promise not to say anything negative, and I don't believe this is negative. It's just my opinion. I don't believe that Rey's got that interesting of a character arc relative to Kylo. Like I think Kylo has constant conflict.
Yeah,
where Rey is searching for something, and then anyway. Not to get into too much.
I don't think it's negativity. I think that's a critique, and I think it actually is inherent in the story because by design, she's following somewhat of a journey that Luke Skywalker did.
Yeah.
In that she awakens to the Force in Force Awakens. She goes and she trains in the middle movie. We've seen all this, and then TBD.
And then hopefully somehow she's instrumental in Kylo's redemption.
Yes,
right?
and I think that Rey is set up to get some complexity going.
And maybe Kylo's redemption is manipulating the midichlorians to bring Rey back to life.
Ooh. Oh, shit, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Rey dies in Episode 9, and Kylo's final redemption is bringing her back to life.
All of his Force energy brings her back to life.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's what we're getting.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I think that this we stumbled on this. The new force power is not going to be something as simple as just like force projection or force sprint, force speed, what have you. But the granddaddy of them all that Lucas set up in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I hope we see that. I hope we get something like that.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Kylo Ren will be redeemed, although from a story perspective, it's hard when you're talking Star Wars because of you call it the meter, and I love that. The rhythm, the echoes. And there are certain things that I feel like he will be redeemed. But from a storytelling point of view, I would love to see him go out as a Sith, just like still angry, and just that the great tragedy is that we lost Kylo Ren. That Ben Solo is gone.
It will be tough for that to happen.
Yeah. By the design of Star Wars.
By the design of Star Wars, it'll be very... Look, first of all, I think that a lot of people thought that was going to happen in Episode 8, right? That Kylo was going to go good and Rey was going to go bad, and then...
Again, if that would have happened, depending on the execution...
And 9 was go back, bring my sister, right?
Yes.
Like, you know,
I would have loved that.
But I don't know. I think Kylo Ren is not Darth Maul. Like, Darth Maul, even though they've tried to redeem him a little bit in Rebels, is unredeemable.
Yeah.
He's not Count Dooku, because Count Dooku was steadfast. Even though Count Dooku actually came from the light, he was steadfast in his obsession with the dark in a way that you buy into a lot more than Kylo, because Count Dooku never showed conflict, never showed remorse, never showed anything. When he
fell out of favor with the Jedi Order. He didn't like their politics.
Right.
And that's what led him down the dark path.
Right, and he was the master of Qui-Gon and all these things. Ken Knapsack always tells me that his dream Star Wars thing is to see a Count Dooku movie.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I love that idea. But I think that is where I'm landing with this episode.
Yeah.
They've turned on the red lightsaber for us.
Yeah, we got to wrap it.
Kylo Ren, the redemption of Kylo Ren, I believe will happen in Episode 9. And now I am pretty convinced. And look, this is an expectation that could probably be proven wrong, because maybe they're not thinking of this holistic way that we're thinking about it, because we're trying to tie in all 3 trilogies with the ending, right? If this is potentially the end of the saga, I think you need to tie in all 3 trilogies.
I absolutely agree.
And if you go to the most important line probably in the entire New Hope, into the entire Disney sequels, is there's 2, right? There's, I'm going to finish what you started. Mm-hmm. Okay? Beautiful. There's also like Chewie, I'm home. Like that's Mark Ellis' favorite line. I think that's just like nostalgia, whatever. But I'm going to finish what you started is a mission statement.
Yes, it is.
And if Kylo Ren is a consistent character, that mission has to still be important. I didn't see any mention of that mission in Episode 8.
No, I didn't, and I think that's why JJ is a correct choice to come in and do this, because I think he's going to wrap it back around to your point.
Yeah.
I think that was introduced in that we're going to see that. There are even rumors out there making StarWars.net, if you want to check those guys out, friends of the show. They do have some rumors when it comes to what he's wearing that could have ties to Darth Vader.
The helmet that he's wearing. The helmet
that he maybe fashions it a bit to make it look a little bit more like Darth Vader.
Which I love, because I think Kylo belongs with that helmet on.
I do too, and I agree with that. But more so, it's because of, and this is the complexity of the character that you've touched on that I love as well. His faith in that Sith way. He comes from the bloodline of Vader. He looks up to Vader. He wants to be like Vader. That is complexity for me. And then being pulled to the light, as he has said, being pulled to Rey in some way. And will it be the love of Rey, to your point, that if she dies and he uses his powers, I love that.
He ultimately fulfills Darth Vader's unrequited ambition, which was to learn the powers of Darth Plagueis the Wise and be able to manipulate the midichlorians to restore life.
That is, I couldn't have put it better. That's what, sure, Darth Vader, but Anakin Skywalker wanted to save his wife.
Yeah.
And that was how Palpatine got him.
That's how he got him.
And I love this, and I love this
conversation. Look, and to Darth Harloff's point, maybe this is also a way to bring Plagueis into the mix.
I don't think Plagueis is ever coming back.
Me
sadly.
either, but this is a way to do it.
This is the way to do it. I would say the only slight retconning would be Snoke is revealed that he's Plagueis.
Right. Which has been like one of the most popular fan fictions. That's why I don't think it's going to happen.
My favorite. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either. Yeah. But podcast for another time because that'll do it, guys. Today, that was a great one.
How long did we go today?
We went about an hour.
Okay, so a short one for us.
That short one for us, and we got to get out of here because we got some more shows coming your way from Collider Podcast, Collider Video, and all that good stuff. It has been episode 18 of Rule of Two. I am Darth Rylis. You can find me at Riley Around and at Mark Fernandez and or Mark Sidious. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please subscribe. If you like this episode, give us a 5-star rating on the Podcast One podcast feed.
Comment down below. Let's
comment down below.
For the
video listeners, especially on Collider Podcast. You've been helping us grow this channel. We appreciate you. Drop in those comments. We'll jump in and start talking.
Yeah. What did you think about the theory of manipulating the life force? And all these things, and look. Also, the holidays are coming up, so I think we're going to try to get in. Yeah, one more show. We might take a week off.
We might take a week off. You'll get a show next week, TBD, but we'll probably be taking a week off as we take a long nap during the holidays.
Yeah.
But thank you for your support always, guys. We appreciate you. Episode 18 in the book. We'll be back next week on an all-new Rule of Two on Wednesday. Per usual. Do it.
Rise.